Hi everybody, this is Laura, City Scrapper. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. Today I have created a layout for a punched out Thursday to Die For, and I'm using a sketch from Christy's Beautiful Life, 30 Days of Sketches, Series 9, and this is the Day 30 sketch, and this sketch was actually created by Christy herself. So I was excited to try out this sketch, and I'm going to be using Vicki Boutin's Fernwood collection. Right now, you see an old paper from American Crafts. I'm just using that piece of paper to mount a frame on. I'm using this striped pattern from the Vicki Boutin collection, and I cut it into 1-inch strips. I put down 2 of the strips as they were, as rectangles, and then I cut 45-degree angles on the corners of 2 of the strips and created a frame that way. I like to use strips of paper to make a frame. Of course, you could also gut a piece of paper. Sometimes I like to use the strips instead of gutting paper when I want to have the pieces of paper that are left over measure 12 inches instead of just having the smaller square that comes out of the center of a gutted piece of paper. And also when I'm making a background that has stripes in it, I like to have the stripes visible on all 4 sides, have the stripes facing outward on all 4 sides so that you could see all the colors and all the lines of the striped paper, and I hope that makes sense. I'm using a piece of pattern paper that is not from the Vicki Boutin collection. I got it many years ago. It was paper that was included in an album. It actually came in the album, and I love these papers because they're resist papers, meaning that if you were to add sprays to them, the sprays wouldn't go in certain places and it creates a pattern. The resist creates a pattern, and they're really cool. So I kind of wanted to save it for mixed media, but I just couldn't find another piece of paper that I really liked. I decided to use this paper even though I didn't plan on using it for mixed media. I also used some black cardstock behind that type pattern paper that's in the background. Just a very thin border of that black paper. I cut out a whole bunch of squares from the 6x8-inch paper pad, and I used the die that you see to the left of the layout. That's a stitched square die. These squares that are created using the die measure 2¼ inches, and then I cut out a number of black squares that were 2½ inches, and I mount all of the pieces of pattern paper on the black squares. Before I attach the pattern papers down to the black squares, I use my scissors and I distress the edges, and then I use my fingers and ruffle up the edges. And you can see that I'm following the sketch very closely. I'm placing those squares in the same places that Christy has them on her sketch. Now I'm attaching those squares down to the layout. I didn't measure using a ruler. I'm really just doing it by eye, but to help me with that, I used some of the squares from other parts of the layout as placeholders, and that helped me to space the squares evenly, and then I moved any of those placeholder squares back to where they belonged. Here I'm just making sure that all of the squares are lined up across the bottom, and I use the T-square going both horizontally and vertically. I think some of that was off camera, but I did want to make sure that everything was lined up, even if the squares aren't spaced perfectly evenly. Christy's Beautiful Life, 30 Days of Sketches, Series 9, that finished up yesterday on the 30th, but I still want to make a layout for each of the sketches. So I'm playing along, and I'm also using the Dotty About Flair prompts that were included with each sketch each day. The prompt for day 30 was cut apart sheets, and I only used the 6x8-inch pad, but they had some cut apart sheets in that pad as well. So I used my die that I used to cut out all the other squares, and I cut out that flower, the red and yellow flower square that's on the right-hand side of the layout. And so that is my nod to the prompt for cut apart sheets. That is my cut apart sheet that I made into a square. Later on in the video, you'll see that I use some fussy cut butterflies, and those are also from one of the cut apart sheets in the 6x8-inch paper pad. I have 2 photos. They're both mounted on white cardstock. I popped one of them up on some fun foam, and you can get fun foam in the children's section of your craft store. I layered the photos as they are in the sketch, And because these aren't photos of people, I wasn't worried about covering up some of the photo that's on the left. I feel like you could still get a perfectly good idea of what's in that photo. I'm using the chipboard sheet from the Fernwood collection, and I'm using this sentiment that says beautiful day. I put that on the right-hand side of the layout, and now I'm kind of playing around with some of the chipboard pieces to see which ones I want to include. I love that embellishment that's over the title that has flowers and the bird. It doesn't end up on the layout, but I do really like it. I placed down some butterflies. Those butterflies don't make it onto the layout, but I do use other butterflies. And now I'm using some gold circles that were also on the chipboard sheet, and I'm playing around with them and deciding where I want to put those on the layout. They really didn't stick too well, and I lost some of them, but most of them did make it onto the final layout. Now my plan was to add the flowers that you see on the left. Those were fussy cut out from one of the pattern papers, and they're red. So I didn't want that red square competing with the flowers. I wanted those to be the most prominent color on the page. And so I just replaced that red square with a yellow square. I've placed two of those beautiful red flowers on the layout. I have one to the left of the photos and one slightly lower to the right. And then I also fussy cut out some leaves to dress them up a little bit. So I arranged those. I also attached down the chipboard title, Beautiful Day. I attached the beautiful part down, but I'm thinking of popping up the letters that spell out day, so I don't attach those down just yet. I have another flower here that I'm cutting out. I was thinking that another flower would look nice, kind of nestled in with the title. And I really love these red flowers. There were a whole bunch of these very beautiful, bright flowers on one of the pattern papers. And I thought the red ones would look nice with this layout, but there are lots of other beautiful flowers in different colors. There are several very small flowers. Maybe they're daisies. I'm not sure. But I fussy cut out some of those, and I am placing those into the clusters. I took that chipboard piece with a bird on it off the layout. I was sad to do that because I absolutely love that bird and all the florals that are around it, but I just think it was too much for this layout. Now I'm using an EK Success scalloped photo corner punch, probably my most used punch, and I punch out some photo corners. I put red ones on the photo on the right and teal photo corners on the photo that's on the left. The sentiment that's underneath the photos says, "Such wonderful things surround you." So I thought that that would be a great little sentiment to include on this layout. And now I'm using some black soot distress oxide, and I'm inking the edges of all of those photo corners. And then once I have all of the photo corners inked, I attach them down to the layout using some adhesive. Now I'm popping up the word day using, again, some fun foam. Those letters already have dimension because they're chipboard, but I thought that adding a little bit of foam to them would help the word day stand out a little bit more. And then I like the idea of having that word sitting on top of the word beautiful to show the connection between the two words. I add that last flower up on the top near the title, and you can see here that I'm using the distress oxide and I'm inking all the edges of all of the red flowers. And then I had fussy cut out some white flowers that you see to the right, and I'm going to be adding those white flowers in with the red ones. So now I'm inking all of those pieces that I plan to put on the layout. I feel so bad that I have not put out many videos lately. I really was hoping to catch up on some of my videos that I had to voice over, but I got a virus last week and it really took me out and really derailed a lot of my plans. But I'm back on track now, and I have a lot of plans to make a lot of videos. A lot of comments in the description boxes have been so helpful, and I plan to make videos based on all of the various suggestions that I received. I'm working on all of it, but it's going to be a little slow going till I catch up. I love to add either pearls or enamel dots to photo corners. I think they add such a nice little finishing touch, and they give the opportunity to add yet another little pop of color near the photo. So I'm putting the teal, smallest little enamel dots that I have on the red photo corners, and then I put some yellow enamel dots on the teal photo corners. I placed 2 butterflies on the layout. There were 3, but I don't know what happened to one of them. I left the table for a bit and I came back and I couldn't find it anywhere, but I don't think there would have been quite enough room in the lower right-hand corner for a 3rd butterfly where I probably would have put it. So I decided that I was just going to go with the 2 butterflies, one up on the top and then one over to the left-hand side. I put a little bit of foam on each of their wings, and that helps them pop up off the page a little bit, especially if you put adhesive on the center and press down the center. The wings will pop up and the center will be attached to the page. There is one sheet of pattern paper. It's over to the left right now, and it has so many things to fussy cut out. I didn't go crazy. I just cut out a couple of extra little images to place in each of the clusters. I wanted to put something between the red flower on the lower right and the square that was on top of it, so I filled in that spot with a little white flower. Now I'm adding some chipboard pieces. There were some really, really tiny chipboard pieces that were all different colors, and I thought that those would be a good addition to put near the gold dots that are already on the page. So I kind of sprinkled those little chipboard pieces around the layout, and now I'm using my gel glue to attach them down because I'm afraid that if I don't attach them down, they will get lost because they don't stick well and they're very tiny. And I often lose those very small pieces of chipboard if I don't do this right away. This is the first time that I'm using the Fernwood collection, and I've really enjoyed working with it. I love all of the beautiful colors. Vicki Boutin just always has the most beautiful color palettes in her collection. So I was happy to try this out, and I'm looking forward to making a lot more layouts with this collection. I put a piece of chipboard underneath the word day just to kind of give it a place to rest. And now I'm using some foam to protect my photos, and I'm sprinkling on or splattering on some white acrylic paint. It's watered down a little bit. I concentrate the splattering on the large clusters that I have on the layout. I just love the way that little bit of splattering just brings something to the layout that I don't think you can get any other way. And I felt that this layout was just screaming out for some white splatters. I'm not really sure why, but I do like the addition of the white splatters. And then that completes this layout. Please don't forget to take a look in the description box. There are lots of links to lots of wonderful channels there. There are the links to the lovely ladies from A Punched Out Thursday to Die For. You definitely want to check out their fantastic layouts. And then also for all the wonderful scrapbookers who have created layouts for 30 Days of Sketches. I hope everybody has a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.